Hey everybody, this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. And today we are going to be doing a very special class. This class is going to be part of a fundraiser for one of our fellow CZTs, Certified Zentangle teachers, that is going through a medical emergency with her family. And we are trying to raise some funds for her to possibly help out. So I thought I would donate a class so that we could help out in a creative way. So here we are. So today's class is going to be a really fun tangle that I love. This is Abukas that I have here, and Abukas was created by CharKat. I got to meet you, CharKat, at TangledYogi, and it was really nice to meet you. You're a fantastic lady, and this is one of my favorite tangles. I love this tangle because it is a great template. You can do so much with it. You can pour tons of tangles into it, or you can keep it really simple. It's just a stellar tangle. I have had the opportunity to play with this tangle several times, and I really love all of the incarnations that I've had with it, just so that you can see a little bit of what I've been playing with. But today we are going to be working with this particular piece, and I love this piece because it feels very glowy and very elegant, and I just love the depth around it. So things that you are going to need for class: we are going to need a micron pen. We are going to need a pencil. I have a mechanical pencil, whatever works for you, pencil-wise, golf pencil. Number 2 also is great too. And then I will be also using the Tombow double-headed pen, and I love this pen because it's got a brush side and it's got a fine liner side. The brush side is really great for puddling in large spaces, and that is exactly what we have around this, is some larger spaces. Now, if you don't have this pen and you have an IdentiPen, that's a great pen. If you have the Mono Twin, that's a good pen. And if you don't have any of those, a good old-fashioned Sharpie will do. So there's that. And then what I'd also like to talk about is the paper that I use. So a lot of you know that I do color mostly with my Zentangles, and so I developed my own tile. This is the Genesis tile, and it is a 4.5 by 4.5 tile. I wear glasses, so working on really small tiles is difficult for me. And this tile is available to you at TangledYogi.com if you are interested. I selfishly made it for me and my students, and it kind of has become a hit, so I thought I'd make it available to everybody. All right, so there we are. Let's get ourselves centered and ready to do some tangling here. So I'd like you to find a comfortable seated position and let yourself rest back into your chair. Take a moment to let your shoulders melt away from your ears. Let your feet touch down onto the floor. And maybe you can take your hands and place your hands in your lap, or they can rest on your thighs with your palms facing up. And just for a moment here, let's inhale and roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Opening the heart area here. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, shrug the shoulders up, back, and down. Let's take a moment to drop into the breath here, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more time, in through the nose and out through the mouth. So in honor of the intention behind this class, I thought I would share one of my favorite poems for when I have gone through difficult times. This poem has followed me around in my life, and I found it to be very beneficial. So if you just want to take a moment and listen, that's great. And this is written by Raina Maria Rilke. And he says, "Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and books written in a foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given to you, because you wouldn't be able to understand. And at this point, the point is to live everything. Live the questions right now. Perhaps gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. So I know for myself, when I'm going through a difficult time, I always say, why is this happening? And sometimes that question just doesn't help. Sometimes just putting one foot in front of the other and just working it through, the answer will just reveal itself. So with that said, let's take in one more deep breath. And exhale it out. And let's tangle. Okay, so I'm gonna get started here, and I've got my pencil that I'm gonna be working with, and I'm gonna start with this tile, and I'm not gonna do dots in the corners. I'm just gonna build the string here. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the pencil and I'm going to make a diagonal line going across my tile like so. And then I'll turn my tile just to make it easy for my hand, and I'll do another diagonal line going across like so. And once you have that, I'm going to start up at the top here in the middle, and I'm going to let it intersect in the middle. And then finally I will spin my tile and once again put my pencil down in the middle and let it carry all the way across like so. So now I've got that really nice intersection in the center there, which is very helpful for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my circles here that I love this thing. It's very, very helpful to me to set up my piece. So I've got my little circle here on my template, and I'm going to line it up so that it's in the center, and I will just go ahead and do a circle there, and then I'm going to go to the smallest circle that I have, and I will line that up as best I can and go for it. Now the inside of this particular area right here is about 3/4 of an inch. So if you need to use a compass to make this happen, go ahead and do so. Or if you want to try to find some tools that will help that to happen, like, maybe some measuring bowls, those little tiny cups always work really well for when you're doing circles. So if you need to pause me here, take a moment to pause me. So hopefully you have your circles ready to go, and we are going to get started with our pens. So go ahead and grab your micron, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to make some teardrops, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to come up right about midpoint on this line, and I'm going to make a teardrop that is facing outward like so. Now I will continue to turn my tile, and I want to make a teardrop about the same size in each area, so you can just gently eyeball that and see how that works for you. So I'm just going around and making my teardrop. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just getting in there and putting in those teardrops. And there you have it. There's the beginning of Abukas there. So it's already starting. So what we're going to do is we are going to start to work with the auras that go with Abukas here. And if you've ever done a ruckus, which is another tangle, kind of a sister tangle to Abukas, you will see a similarity here. So what I'm going to do is in between these two teardrops here, I'm going to make a kind of orid line to this line that's right here. And I'm just going to keep on turning my tile. Now I happen to be left-handed, so if you're right-handed you may go counterclockwise. I'm just turning clockwise because that works for my hand here. But I want to acknowledge that, you know, if you're right-handed, this might be easier if you're going counterclockwise for you. So I'm just going around like so and creating that really nice aura. And once I've gone all the way around, I'm going to go to the top of my teardrop now, and I'm going to aura the side of the teardrop and land on the first aura of the circle. See how that happened? So I'm going to turn my tile. I'm going clockwise. You may decide to go counterclockwise just because of whichever handed you are. And I'm just going around and auraing all around my teardrops. And take your time. Notice if you're holding your breath or furrowing your brow, or could be that you're rushing. See if you can just enjoy yourself and enjoy the process of tangling this tangle. So I've had a chance to go around once, and if you need to pause me so that you have the opportunity to go around once, you can do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on here. So I'm going to do another aura of this circle line. So I'm just going to go through an aura all the way around. So we're building up the tangle here. Just like so. And now, if you need to pause here, you're welcome to pause here. Otherwise, I'm just going to go right back to the top of my teardrop, and I'm going to land now into those new auras of the circle. So I'm just going around in that circle. Oh, I missed that side. I'll grab that. And we're only going to do this a couple of times because we don't want it to get overly busy. We want to keep this one a little bit more calm and relaxed, because we're going to be doing lots of things with it. And I've finally got one more left, like so. So we're looking for that V that's completed all the way around. And I'm going to do one more go around with the auras of the circle. So I've gone all the way around, and I think it looks pretty good. I like where I'm at with it. So if you need to take a pause here and catch up, go ahead and do so. Okay, so we've had a chance to go all the way around, and now we're going to start to work with the inside of Abukas here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something that I call overdraw, and I'm just going over the pencil lines that helped us with that string in the beginning, and I'm just coming in and cleaning up those lines so that when I am working with the circles, they're nice and clean for me to work with. So I'm just going in there and cleaning that up, and then I will go into the main circle, and you can see that I'm taking my time. I'm moving that tile to make it work for my hand here. We're not in any rush. We just want to be able to enjoy what we're doing. So there's the overdraw. And you can see that my circle isn't perfect and it doesn't have to be to do this. So we're going to start to work with the center of Abukas here. And what that's going to look like is we're going to do a variation on bales actually. So you can see I've got these two lines that are part of the X, right? And I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some leaf-like shapes that look like we're doing bales. So can everybody see the connection there? And then I'll come down this side and I'll intersect through here, and there you have it. There is bales. Right in the center. And then once I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top here, and before I get all the way up to the top, I'm going to make a little circle. So it's almost like a fescue. And then I'll come down to the bottom, and just before I hit the bottom, I'll do another one. And then here, I'm going to do another one. And then here, I'll do another one. So once I've had the opportunity to do that, we are going to continue with the idea of bales. Or if you guys have ever done rumpus, this also reminds me of rumpus a little bit. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to add a leaf-like shape right there. And I'm just turning the corner and I'm going to do it again. See how I'm using the circle to be the outside of that leaf? I'm just turning the tile, making that little leaf-like shape, coming along, making that leaf-like shape all the way around. Making my way all the way around the piece. And you can see it almost looks like the circle of life, which I think is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to start to work a little bit more with the interior of Abukas here inside of the teardrops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to add a little detail into it here. I'm going to add a little V in the top of each of my tiers here. So I'm just going to go around and add a little V in my tier. And I'm turning my tile to make it easy for my hand. I love to work in a circular motion. I think it's very meditative and relaxing. And once I've had a chance to go all the way around and make that V shape, you'll notice that it has created a diamond at the top of the tier. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to aura that V. So I'm just making my way around. And the final one right there. So once you've had a chance to go all the way around, we're going to go ahead and puddle into the top of our V here. Now because this is a small one, you can stick with your micron and just go ahead and puddle into it. But if you want to haul out one of the puddling pens, you're welcome to do so. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to puddle in these areas here, and I'll meet you in a second, and you go ahead and do the same thing. Okay, so I've had a chance to go all the way around and puddle those in. Now I'm just going to add one more detail to the teardrop here. I'm going to go in just like I did right in here, and I'm going to do a line with a little circle on it. So I'm just going to continue to go all the way around. That line with the circle on it. And then what I'll do once I've gone all the way around is I will puddle those in just briefly. And remember, with your micron pen, the lighter you go with the tension on your pen, the more the ink flows, right? So we're often telling our students to not press too hard with our pens, and sometimes we forget ourselves. So it's always a good reminder, right? Okay, so we've had the opportunity to finish that part, and now we're going to do the same exact detailing, but on the inside here. So I'm just going to come in and put in a little circle, but this time I'm going to fill it in. So I'm taking that line, putting a little circle and filling it in, putting in a line and filling it in, putting in a line and filling it in. So you can see that each line has a nice circle on the end of it, like so. If you need to pause me, go ahead and pause me. Otherwise, we are going to continue on. So one of the things that I did with the last incarnation of Abukas here is I really love the tangle Cruffle. I just think it's a beautiful tangle. So I added some Cruffles on the outside of my Abukas here. So I'm just going to come around and make some fairly large orbs, and you can see as I go around that I'm going to try to make sure that those orbs are almost filling the V that we have here. Can everybody see that? So we want to make sure that those orbs are fairly large so that we can work inside of them, and try to make sure that they stay about the same size as much as you can. I'm just going around and adding them in, and you can see that I'm just using the walls of that V to help me with the circles. And some of them may be bigger, and some of them may be smaller. Remember, this isn't a perfection contest. This is just about enjoying what we're doing and following along. So there you have it. I've got my beginnings of Cruffle here, and I'm going to use this guy right here to do the demo for Cruffle. And what I did was I made sure that my detailing for Cruffle was away from the center of Abukas here. So I'm just going to turn it on its side here and just watch. I'm going to make a very lazy S. And you can see that that S has given me a really lovely yin and a yang over here. So I'm just going to come up to the top one, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to aura inside of that, and then I'm going to go again and aura inside of that. Now, some people like to Cruffle on both sides of their yin and yang. I really just like to do it singularly. So you can see that I'm leaving a little blank space near the Abukas here. So I'll just come down to this guy right here. I'm going to make a lazy S, just like that. And then I'll come in right on the outside, and I will go ahead and I will aura inside of it, turning my tile, making my lazy S, and then coming in and auraing, turning my tile, making the S, aura, cleaning that up. So you can see it's just a very meditative practice of just doing the S and then auraing the inside of that side. So here I go, turning and then doing the S. Just really nice and easy. That turned out really nice. I'm happy with that. So if you need to pause and catch up with us, now would be a good time to pause. right, so we are going to start to work in the corner areas of our piece here. So you can see that I've got these nice spaces in the corner, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here right where the tip of the teardrop is, and I'm going to make a V shape just like so. And then I'm going to turn my tile, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm making a V. Oops, that didn't make it quite to the end. And then I'll turn my tile again, make a V shape. You can hear the pitter-patter of my dog's feet on the floor in the background. That's Mojo. I'm just making that V. So once you have that V, we're going to go ahead and we're going to aura inside of the V. And I'm going to do a nice tight aura here. And you can see that I just turned the tile to make it easy on my hands. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the next one. So nice tight aura inside of the V. Nice tight aura. And the final one right here. Pretty good. I like it. So the next part of this is going to be that we are going to, I'm going to turn this on the diamond so that you can kind of see what I'm up to here. So I'm going to go ahead and in here, I'm just going to do a capital A. And you can see that that just created a diamond right in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to aura the top of that A. So I'm turning my tile. Now I'm on the diamond and I'm just going in, making the beginning of an A and then going and doing the aura of that capital A. Turning the tile, once again, A, and going again, and one more time, here we go. So now we've got it in all four corners, which really looks kind of nice because it has this kind of feeling of flowing outward, out through each corner. And flow is something that I consider to be very important when I'm doing my pieces. I like them to have a nice stream of consciousness or flow, as it were. So I'm going to now come into these diamond areas and we're going to do well. And well is a really fun tangle. And I'm going to make this nice and big for you so that you can see it. So we're going to put a circle inside of our diamond here, just like so. And I want you to think of the number 6. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to make the number 6. See how that worked? I'm going to turn my tile counterclockwise here and I'm going to come from this corner and I'm also going to make the number 6. See how that worked? I'm going to turn my tile again counterclockwise. I'm coming in for the corner and I'm looking for the number 6. And then I'm going to turn it one last time here. And there it is. So you get this really neat tangle there. Let's do it again. So I'm going to come here into this particular piece right here. There's my circle. Here's my 6. Turning my tile counterclockwise, looking for the 6 and putting it in. Turning it again. There's the 6. And then last time right here, coming down from this corner right here and making the 6. Now we've got it in 2 corners. So I'm going to let you guys finish that one up and I'm going to do mine on my own too. See you in a minute. So hopefully you've had a chance to finish up the corners. We're going to do one final piece to the puzzle here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into this area right in here. See the first circular aura? I'm going to go ahead and start to make these little thatch lines into the first aura. I want you to think of like a ruler, how I'm making these little thatch lines. And so I'm just going to work my way around the circle, creating those little thatch lines. And you can go all the way around the first circle and create that. So once you've had the opportunity to go all the way around the first circle, we're going to start to go into the second circle. So you can see right in here, this is where my second circle is. So I'm going to just go ahead and do some thatching in there and then into the last circle like so. So I'm just turning and adding some of that thatching. Notice how I'm not going all the way down, I'm just going about halfway. And I'm turning the tile. And they're not all the same size, you know, it's fine if they are, but I'm just being really random about it, which is just fine. So I'm just getting in there and going around and just seeing where my eye lands, wherever I decide the thatching needs to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there you have it, that nice thatching. Okay, so with that, now we are going to get to doing some puddling. Now, we talked earlier about pens. I'm going to be using the Tombow pen. I have that really nice paintbrush pen, and I'm going to be using it to puddle in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to start to puddle all around our Abukas, and I'm going to puddle around our Cruffle. What I like about being able to add black is that it cleans up any lines that might be a little rough and adds a more finished feel to it. So you can see that I'm just kind of wandering around in there with my pen, and you'll notice that my pen is working in a circular-like motion. If I do this kind of motion with my pen, I'm going to get a really jagged line. But if I go in with a circular-like motion, I'm going to get a really nice and clean, dark black. So you might notice on some of your pieces, if you've worked in the past where you've puddled in but you have those white scratchy spots that show up, chances are you might be puddling in a more up and down fashion rather than in a circular-like fashion. Now, granted, when you're getting into these little nooks here, you may want to add a little bit of that forward-moving motion, but for the most part, you can see that my pen is moving in that circular motion, and I'm getting a very nice and clean feel to the piece itself. So I'm just going to continue to finish up this one section here so that you can see how far I'm going to go with it. And then that way, when we pause for a moment, I'm going to have you do all 4 of your sections. So you can see I'm just moving through, keeping it clean. And you can see it didn't take me that long with this kind of a pen. Now, if you decide that you don't want to do the black and you want to do color, you could always just do color in there and grab a colored pencil and have some fun with it as well. But for this particular class, I really wanted to keep that nice, rich black. So you see that I went from one V to the other V, and I just puddled in all around the Cruffle and the teardrop shapes of Abukas. Okay, so I'm going to come into here and do all in here. I'm going to come over here and do all of this, and then I'll come in here and do all of this. I'll see you in a minute and you go ahead and do the same. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around my piece. And I put down a little bit of a backdrop here so that you could see the color a little bit more clearly. I have a little envelope there just to help show what I actually did. So we are going to get started with color. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to think about what color you would like this particular part of your piece to be. For myself, I was working with a lot of really pretty lime colors. It could be any color that you want to see, and I think for this particular piece, because I haven't really done a really pretty orange, I think I'm going to do that with it because I haven't done that yet. I've done one that was in purple. That was really pretty, and I did one that was in a greenish kind of blue, and then the last one that I did was in a really pretty lime color. And just to talk about the lime color for a second, the CZT that I was talking about earlier, they are dealing with a spinal cord injury, and lime happens to be the color for that particular injury for their ribbon. So that's why I did a really nice lime color for that. But you can choose any color that you like, and I think I'm going to go for my orange color here. So if you know me, and I know that you do, I always talk about color in the beginning of my sessions with you guys, and color meaning that one of these pencils is 3 different colors. You have your light, you have your medium, and you have your dark. All right, so you can see how that works. Now, if I'm working with orange, orange does not have as heavy a pigment as something that is red. So when I'm doing my light, my medium, and my dark, you can see that that red has a little bit more oomph to it. So I always say to people, if you're going to be working with a lighter color, make sure that you have a complementary color nearby to help you with that. So if you're working with a light green, you might want to have a dark green nearby. If you're working with a light blue, you want to have a dark blue nearby. A light pink, maybe have a little bit of a purple nearby. So all of those things to think about. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to grab my orange, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to shade. Now you'll notice you can see my pencil marks. A lot of people will want to erase their pencil marks, and that is totally fine if you want to do that. Recently I went to the Museum of Modern Art when I was in New York, and I saw some beautiful Chagall's, and I walked right up to one of those Chagall paintings and I looked nice and close, and you could still see the pencil work underneath his paintings, and I thought, you know, if it's good enough for Chagall, it's good enough for me. So I'm going to leave my pencil marks in there, and I am just going to start to shade around the outside of that main circle. Now, you'll notice that I'm not going all the way up towards the edge of the other side. In fact, I want you to think of, if you've ever done Zen buttons before, when we do our shading for Zen buttons, we always leave the center of the circle a little bit light. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I am going to leave the center of the circle light. But you can see I'm also not being overly perfectionistic about it. In fact, it's almost better if you are not perfectionistic about it because it looks more realistic as light. Okay? So I'm just going around. You'll see that my pencil is moving in a circular-like motion. And I'm just allowing that sheen in the middle to start to build. And you can start to see that that looks like light that's hitting it. So no perfection here, just letting it happen. I'm just going in and filling my way around this particular part. I'm using that light tension. I'm not being overly heavy with my hand there. Now, if your pencil is really dull, you may want to sharpen it for this next part. My pencil seems to be doing just fine, so I'm just going to continue. So now I'm going to use a little bit of heavier tension, and you can see that I'm really hugging the edge. I'm leaving that light part where it is, but I'm just hugging the edge of the circle itself. I'm turning the tile to make it easy for my hands here. I'm just working my way through. Getting in there and really cleaning up any of those edges. But remember, we want to keep some of that light, that original light tension all the way around. So we're really hugging the outside edge of that circle. And I'm going to zoom that in so you can really see that. See how here's my light and here's my dark on that same pencil. And I'm going to do the same thing in the center too. See how I'm not completely covering up that light pencil. I'm leaving it in there, and I'm using a little bit of that heavier tension on the orange there. Turning my tile to make it work for me. I'm just continuing to move around. It's really starting to get a nice glowing feeling to it, isn't it? Quite lovely. So now I'm just kind of filling in any areas that I feel like may have missed some of that light color. And then I'm going to switch over to that red color. See how that's going to give me such a nice contrast? And what I'm going to do is I'm really going to hug in nice and close to that black line. Can everybody see how that's really starting to make it glow? It's giving that a really nice feeling. Glowing, positive vibration, good positive feeling. Sending lots of love out into the world to all the folks that need it. Yeah. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just hugging the outer edge, and really you can see how much that changes just by adding a little bit of that glowing color on the outside edge. So here I don't have so much of that circular motion with the pencil because I'm really just defining the space. Remember, if your pencil's really dull, go ahead and sharpen it up so you have a nice sharp tip. A dull pencil is not going to give you that nice detailing that we're looking for. Notice if you're holding your breath or you're furrowing in your brow, see if you can soften. Oh, that really, look at how nice and glowy that is. That is so pretty. I really like that. That's quite nice. So if you need to take a moment to touch some things up with your original pen, or your original pencil rather, then go ahead and do that. I'm going to do some of these little areas in here just to make it a little bit more glowy, and I'm using a very light tension. I'm really quite happy with the way that turned out. So take a moment and finish up, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I've had a chance to go all the way around, and hopefully you have too. We're going to start to work with our teardrops that we have here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, and I'm going to blow this up here so that you can really see what I'm up to here. I'm going to just go right for this teardrop right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a really, really light tension of the orange here. And this is just to start. And then once I've gotten in that orange, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of heavier tension in there as well. So I've got like a medium tension that's coming up about halfway from the bottom here. And that really does start to give that a little bit of dimension with the shading here. Now, for those of you who know me well, you know that if we have a really, really light body color like orange, we need to have a little bit of a darker color nearby to give us a little bit of that contrast. So I'm going in now with a orangish red, and I'm gonna just very lightly at the bottom add a little bit of that orangish red to it to give it a little bit of that glow factor. Okay, so I'm gonna go around to all of the teardrops and do the exact same thing. Go ahead and go all the way around and do your teardrops the same way. Now I know some of you are very astute and you're noticing that my teardrops all of a sudden don't have black in their diamonds. I had a little snafu with my filming, and so we are redoing this segment again. So go ahead and go all the way around your teardrops with that particular way of shading, okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I've had a chance to go all the way around, and hopefully you have too. And I'm gonna talk about a technique right now, and I know that I didn't mention this pencil earlier, but hopefully most of you who have colored pencils have a white colored pencil. I'm gonna blow this up just a little bit here so that you can see. You can see that I have a little bit of a transition here between my lightest and my medium and my dark. Now, a lot of you may use blender pencils. I know Prisma makes them. I know that Stabilo makes them. Polychromos makes them. Because I work a lot with the Prisma colors, I am fond of their white. I think their white is really nice. The reason why I like the white instead of a blender pencil is that it has a creaminess to it that the blender pencil does not. Sometimes the blender pencil will leave scratch marks on a piece. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in and really heed my warning here when I talk about staying in the light first before you start to delve into the medium tension, because you can pull up color from the darkest to the lightest. But you can see just by doing that little bit, notice how that has much more of a blended appeal than this side right here. So I always start in the light first, and then I work my way down into the medium. Oops, I got a little bit of breakage there. And then into the dark. And you can see that my pencil is moving in that circular-like motion, but it really does give it a nice blended appeal. So if you have been working with blenders before, you may try this technique and see that you like it. White is just a wonderful way of getting just a really nice creaminess out of your colors. And even here inside of the main orb, you can see that if I just go around a little bit, I can start to really soften those colors. And watch though, if I start to dip into where the white is, I do carry that orange. So you have to be very, very careful with this technique. You really want to make sure that you're not going to drag color around where you don't want it. So a lot of people use blenders. I'm not partial to them. I think if I ever need them, I just grab a white pencil and use that. Most of the time I don't use a blender at all, just because going from light to medium to dark generally gives me a softer appeal, okay? So with that said, we're gonna let go of our teardrops here. If you wanna go around to your teardrops and clean it up, this would be a great place to pause me. Otherwise, we are going to carry on. Okay, so here we are, and I've had a chance to let all of that blending happen here, and we are going to start to move on to the next part of our piece. We're going to start to work in the rings that are going around our tangle here, and I am going to be alternating colors, and you'll see what I mean by that in a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a color that I feel is contrasting to this orange because I really want it to pop. And so I'm using my favorite color. This is Dahlia Purple, and it is just my favorite purple in the Prisma line. I just adore it. So I'm gonna grab this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this so that it's easy for my hand, and I'm gonna come in here, and I'm very, very lightly going to come in and shade into our rungs here. And you'll notice that I'm leaving the center of the rung white. Let me see if I can blow this up for you. Everybody see that? Isn't that a beautiful color? So what I'm gonna do is I'm really trying to not make that white perfect, because whenever you see sheen on something, it's never a perfect line. So I like to break up those lines and make it a little imperfect. And then what I'll do is I'll come in on the sides and I'll add a little bit of that nice shading where I'm doing a little bit of that medium tension over here and over here. And then finally, I'll come in with that heavy, heavy tension right along the teardrop itself. And you can see that that starts to make this glow a little bit. Now, I'm gonna go up this little ramp here, and I'm gonna do the same thing in all of these areas right here, okay? So I'm just getting that sheen to continue all the way through. And then I'm gonna come in and just really make that pop as much as I can. And you'll notice that I've got a nice sharp pencil there. It makes for a lot easier shading. Now, in here, I'm gonna start to alternate my colors as well. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna allow one of these to be one color and one of them to be another. So I've got this really nice turquoise here, and I'm just gonna start to lay down that turquoise. And I'm using the nice light tension, and then you'll notice that when I get right next to the teardrop, I am going to let it be nice and vivid. See how that looks? It's got a nice glowing quality about it. And then finally, for those of you who know me, you know that I love using the gray pencil in a pencil set instead of graphite because I'm left-handed. So here I'm going to go in with a nice cool gray and lay down a really pretty gray. And then I will come in and use a little bit heavier tension right next to the last section here. So you can see that that has a really nice bit of contrast off of the purple and off of the orange. So I'll come in on the other side and do the same thing right here. Let's see if I can make this so that you can really see what I'm up to here. So I'll come in and I'll do that nice blue, that turquoise blue, and how it pops off of that purple is just delightful. And then we're gonna go ahead and give that a little bit of a heavier tension. And then I'll come in with the gray. And you can see that I'm working that gray in a circular motion. If you want to use a graphite pencil, you're welcome to use a graphite pencil. I just really like the creaminess of the pencils to give me that nice shading and control. And then finally, I'll just come in with a little bit of that heavier tension right along that line right there. So you can see that that section really has a nice pop to it. So we're gonna go around to all of our sections. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Rami, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of relaxation. It's a lot of time for you to relax, to breathe, to enjoy the colors that you're using, okay? So I'll see you in a minute. Go all the way around. Don't forget to breathe. Okay, so I've had a chance to go all the way around here, and you can see, wow, this thing is really starting to pop, which, you know, for me, whenever I sit down to do a Zentangle, it's always a big exploration. I never know exactly how it's going to end. One of my favorite quotes is from Picasso. He says, I start with an idea and then it turns into something else. And whenever I go forward with a tangle, it always starts with an idea, but then it turns into something else too. So I love that process that he talks about. We're gonna go and work in the middle here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a little bit of that really pretty purple, and that purple is going to be my inner color here for my flowers. And I'm just gonna start by laying down that purple in towards the center and up into here as well. And you can see that I'm leaving a little bit of light in the center. And then I'm gonna, let's blow that up so you can really see what I'm up to. And then I'm gonna go right into this area and do some medium shading. And then at the tip, I will add a little bit of that darkness that we like so much, and that just gives so much dimension to that petal. So I'll go all the way around with that particular shading technique. So go ahead and do your petals, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I've had a chance to do the petals, and now we're going to start to work with the exterior petals here. So you can see that I'm talking about these right around the edge here. And I'm going to use the same technique with the turquoise on the outside. So I'm using that idea of leaving the sheen in the center and then giving it a little bit of that pressure on the edges here just to give it a little bit of pop. So we're going to go around the whole circle and give this a little bit of pop here. So take your time, enjoy the process, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so I've had a chance to go all the way around, and now I'm gonna start to work with the interior here. So I'm coming in with my gray, and you'll notice that in a lot of my videos, I like to carry my colors around inside of the piece. The reason for that is that it gives the eye a place to bounce around, right? So, you know, your eye is recognizing the gray out here, and now it'll recognize the gray in here. It's a nice way of working with the composition. So that's why I'm doing it. So I've got this nice gray that I've laid down in there. And then I'm gonna come in, and with that heavier tension, I'm gonna start to make those petals glow, just by adding some of that darker tension right around the outside here. So for those of you who don't know, I am left-handed, so working with these creamier pencils are better for me than graphite because I always end up wearing it on the outside of my hand. So that's why I work with the color pencils. But if you like working with graphite and you're right-handed, you probably won't have a problem with it. It just happens to be for a left-handed thing. I don't know why it is, but it is. So you can see I'm just going in and laying down that gray nice and light. Notice that my pencil is working in a circular-like motion. It's giving me a really nice smoky feel as I lay down that color. And then I'll go back in with that more intense pressure, and it's really gonna start to make that glow. So go ahead and go all the way around your flower, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so we are moving along here. Really love the way the middle is looking. It's got a really, really nice feel to it. So you can see I've got these little circles in here, these little white circles all the way around. I think I'm just gonna throw some orange into those to make them pop. Once again, carrying color around on the piece, and it just gives it a little bit of that continual relationship of the color, which I love. So we're gonna start to work now inside of our well. That's the name of the tangle over here. And well is one of my favorite tangles to do. And you can see that I've grabbed the orange again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into well, and you can see that I'm not being overly careful with it. I'm just going in and laying down that orange in a very, very light tension. And then what I like to tell people is I want you to think of each flap of well as laying down on top of the one that's next to it, right? So it has a little bit of shadow to it. So you can see I've got this flap right here, and it's on top of this one. So I'm going to do a little bit of shading here. I'm using that medium tension. My pencil is pretty sharp. So I've got that nice shading going on right underneath it, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of that darker orangey red right along the line there, just to give it that pop that I'm looking for. See how pretty that is? So now this flap would be on top of this one, right? So I'm just going to go along here, grabbing that orange, doing a medium tension about halfway down the flap there, going in, adding a little bit of that red along the line there, blending out, and then I'll go to the next one. So this flap would be on top of this one right here. So I'm just sticking to it, only going about halfway up, getting right in there. And then the final piece right here, getting right in there. Blending that in. And that really starts to give well a lot of dimension. And we may need to do some blending here and there with well, but you can see that I'm not pulling out the white because it's too small of an area to use that white pencil in, I think. So I'm just going back over it with my orange pencil just to help it to blend out a little bit. But you can see that that really starts to make it pop. Now I know what you're thinking, so what am I going to do with the background there? So I'm actually going to grab the purple, and I'm going to do the purple all in here. And I'm going to blow this up so that you can really see it. So I'm coming in here, and I'm laying down that purple in a very, very light way. Once again, the pencil is just really barely tickling the page here. So really just lightly distributing color down. You can see the pencil's moving in a circular-like motion to give it that smoky feeling. So if you're doing this kind of movement, you're going to end up getting a lot of lines. But if you go with that smoky movement, that circular movement, you're going to like what you see. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to do that medium tension all around so that it starts to make it look like this is on top of this. I'm just going around in here, and then I'll start to fade up a little bit so that I don't get that line of demarcation in there. Yeah. And then I'm going to come in with that heaviest tension right along the line. Notice how that really starts to pop. It really gives it a glow, which I absolutely love. So go ahead and go around to all 4 of your wells. So that's that tangle right there. And we're going to use the orange and the purple, or whatever colors you're working with, because you know me, I don't like to tell you what to do. Do whatever is working for you, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so that's starting to move a little bit further along here, which is nice. So let's talk about our Cruffle. That's the spheres that are on the outside of this piece here. I'm gonna start to make this fairly large so that you can see what I'm up to. So you can see I have this really nice blue right here, but then I have the separation of the gray before the Cruffle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually do blue, and I'm gonna come in and lay down that color very, very lightly. And then once I have that color in, I'm going to do some shading with it where I come in and I do medium tension from the bottom up to about halfway up. Now notice that the pencil is moving in that circular-like motion. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in from the bottom again and I'm going to do a little bit of a heavier tension on it. Might be able to hear my puppy's feet on the floor. He's walking around. Everybody say hi, Mojo. All right, so there you have it. That's got a really nice kind of glowing feeling to it. And then on the outside, I'm gonna grab my orange again, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing. So I'm gonna come in, put in the color, really light tension, and then the same kind of shading, coming back into the center and starting to do a little bit of that heavier tension going about halfway up. And then I'll go ahead and I will add a little bit more of that dark red that I've been using as a little accent color to give that some depth, and it really starts to make that pop and give that orb just a really nice feeling to it. So I'm gonna go around to all of my orbs and do just that. I'll see you in a minute. Don't forget to breathe. Okay, so that is really starting to come alive. I'm enjoying it very, very much. Last details for this piece. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab that blue again and I'm gonna go into the areas of white around our well, and I'm gonna use that sheen idea again. So I'm gonna come in here and notice how I'm leaving it light right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and give this some depth and color right in here and right in here. And then I'll come over to the other side. And give that some light in the center. And then I'll do the same thing right in here. I'm just looking for ways to add light into the piece. Highlights, if you will. And so I'm just giving that a little bit of depth as well. Hopefully that all stayed on camera for you. All right, so that's what we're gonna do in all of the V's going around. So take your time and go around and do up your V's, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we are nearing the end of our time together. I have one last thing to offer, and that is maybe doing some embellishment dots around the piece in the black. If you're liking the simplicity and the elegance of what it is right now, you can just hold off on that. I have one of these really nice Signo, they're the Uniball metallic pens. Now if you have a Jelly Roll pen or some other kind of metallic pen that you like, you could add it to it. And all I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna add some little dots just around the outside edge. And you can see that just by doing a little bit, it goes a long, long way. Just adds a little bit of spark to it. And if you don't have a metallic pen, then you save it for later, or you don't do it at all. It's just a thought that I wanted to finish up with as we came to a close today. So you can see that that just gave it a little bit of sprite and happiness and all that good stuff. Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this. I know that I have. And if you are interested in what I do, you can go to TangledYogi.com and check out my my webpage, and or take other videos on the YouTube channel that I have, which is TangledYogi 333. And so I want to leave you with food for thought today, since we are doing this video as a fundraiser for a friend in the Zentangle community that's going through a very trying time medically with her family. I thought maybe we could extend her a little love and appreciation. So I wanted to end with a quote from the Dalai Lama, and he says, "When we feel love and kindness towards others, it not only makes others feel loved and cared for, but it helps us also develop inner happiness and peace." So if you know somebody that's going through a difficult time, please send them some love and attention and care in your heart. And if you want to extend it to the person that we have been raising funds for, you can extend it to her family as well without even knowing her name. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to the next time we tangle. So until we tangle again, this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. I hope you have a great day.